The musket. It's what our founding fathers used to fight the British and get us our freedom. But is it still a viable weapon? No, of course not. It gets destroyed by modern weaponry. I don't know where I'm going with this intro. I'm gonna be trying to complete GTA 5 using only the musket. There are two main rules for this challenge. The first is I can't use the glitch that allows the musket to be reloaded way faster than usual. The other is I can give myself a musket at any time. Because while you can get it in story mode, it's not too late in the game. Let's get started. While in North Yankton, I showed a security guard what a lead ball does to the human skull at 1500 feet per second. I also pulled an Uno reverse card on a cop and shot him in the back. Shortly after that, my favorite character gets shot, the getaway driver. At least he was spared from the world of shark cards and 12-year-olds flying on bikes. After the intro, we are introduced to Franklin and Lamar, who are repoing some cars. I narrowly beat Lamar in our race and then delivered the car back to Simeon in pristine condition. Then we repoed a bike that was owned by a Vago. While I was looking for the bike, I shot an unarmed homeless man with my musket. I'm tired of them littering the streets of Los Santos. We opened a garage that the bike wasn't in when we were confronted by some Vagos. Lamar gave one of them a few extra holes in his body, which started a gunfight, and I easily killed all the guys in the alley. I didn't even need to be in cover, their aim was pretty bad. Shortly after that, the gangster arrived on his bike and I was able to shoot him before he started driving away. We recovered the bike and Lamar decided to keep it for himself. Simeon then needed me to repo a car owned by Jimmy. I went to his house, snuck by the gardener, and got the car. Michael was hiding in the back and forced me to make Simeon's dealership a drive-thru. Like in my flare gun video, I didn't want to punch Simeon, so I tried using the musket on him. Since I had luck shooting him in the junk in that video, I decided to do it again. This motherfucker got right back up after being shot in one of his balls, so I shot him in his other nut, and just like before, he got up again. I was pretty intimidated by his balls of steel, but after another shot, the cutscene played. After castrating Simeon, Jimmy called to let me know he was kidnapped while trying to sell my boat. Franklin and I located the boat. He jumped on while I was following close behind. I got a little too close to the trailer, which sent me tumbling across the road and into a tree. Are you fucking kidding me? What the hell? One of the thieves starts attacking Franklin. You need to shoot this guy, and I thought it was gonna be hard because I had to get out of the car to shoot him, but I ended up doing it first try and easily caught back up to the boat. He is the only one you need to shoot in this mission. Jimmy and Franklin hopped back in the car. We were gonna chase the boat down, but when Jimmy fell into the car, the suspension got a little damaged and needed repaired. I gave Amanda a wonderful new paint job and dropped Jimmy off at home. As I was getting home, I ran into Lamar. He had a great business opportunity. All I had to do was commit a felony by kidnapping a gangster named D, so we chased him down while he was on a bike until he crashed. I started chasing him on foot with Chop. We ended up losing him, then I accidentally kicked Chop, which I felt pretty bad about. We eventually found him and stuffed him in the back of the van. I was planning on making what Jeffrey Dahmer did look like a joke, but Lamar messed up the ransom call and we had to let D out. I went to Michael's house after that and saw he had caught Amanda sleeping with the tennis coach. We did the very rational thing and pulled his house down off a cliff. On our way back, some guys started shooting at us. I pulled over and showed them why we won the Revolutionary War. When we got back, Martin Madrazo showed up to let us know it was actually his house we pulled down and we needed to pay for the repairs. Shortly after that, Michael calls Lester for some help getting the money. Lester says he'll help, but he needs Michael to sabotage one of Lifeinvader's new phones. This whole mission went really smooth, except for the part where I accidentally trapped myself in the clothing store. Are you fucking kidding me? It took me way longer to get out than I'm willing to admit. After blowing Jay Norris's mind with the new phone, Michael decided he would do another good deed and spend quality time with his son. We went down to the beach for a bike ride, and since I'm such a good dad, I let Jimmy win. Just kidding, that motherfucker didn't stand a chance. Jimmy let me know Tracy was on a boat close to us doing porn. I tried to beat Jimmy for not telling me earlier, but it didn't really work. I swam to the boat, got Tracy off of it, and the guys began chasing us. All I had to do was hop off my jet ski and pick them off. I dropped Tracy off with her brother and started preparing for the first heist. As I was driving to scope out a store, Amanda called me and said she needed some help.
There's been a misunderstanding. I need you to help clear it up.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Yeah, but see, if I help you out, you're never gonna learn.
All I had to do after scouting the jewel store with Lester was get some rifles from a noose van. Getting the rifles was super easy. Some civilians even helped me take out the noose. I delivered the rifles back to the factory and it was time to start the heist. The heist starts off with us going to the jewel store and taking everyone hostage. I switched to the musket, which I used to slowly shoot open the display cases and grab the diamonds. Then we made our way to the river where I needed to take out the cop cars chasing the bikes. I could just hit their cars lightly to disable them, them and not have to shoot them with the musket. But what fun is that? On my first attempt, I got out, whiffed all my shots at the cops, then the crew members got too far away. My second attempt went quite a bit better. I was able to get all the cop cars except one. As I was lining up my shot for the final one, I choked and barely missed. I choked harder than your mom did last night on my penis. Haha, got him. I was able to shoot all the cop cars on my third attempt, but I didn't make it to the end. Let's play a little guessing game as to what happened. Did I A, find a way to die in this 5-second drive, B, have my game crash, or C, is this game a pile of dog shit and failed the mission for some fucking reason when the bikes were already at the checkpoint? Do you have your answer? Surprisingly, it was A. Just kidding, it was obviously C, you idiot. Sorry, I didn't mean to take out my anger on you. Luckily, on my next try, I killed all the cops again, a lot sooner than the previous attempt too. We loaded up all the bikes and went to the lockup, completing the heist. Franklin heads to Michael's house to celebrate, where we are rudely interrupted by Dave. In the cutscene, we switched to Trevor, and I was happy to be playing as someone who has a worse hairline than me. Well, at least for now. Trevor meets up with members of the Lost to gloat about how he killed Johnny. They start driving back to their camp, and you are prompted to take out 2 bikers. After killing them, I decided to celebrate with a stunt jump, which caused Wade to fly out and lose some brain cells. Not like he had much left anyway. We follow the van back to their camp and start taking them out. All I had to do was move from cover to cover and kill them one by one. When they were all dead, I hopped in my truck, removed Wade's final brain cells, and went over to Ortega's trailer. I pushed it in the river, gave him some false hope of being spared, then went back to Trevor's trailer. Shortly after, I met with Tao Chang and his translator at a bar to discuss business. They wanted to take a tour of my meth lab. While we were on our way, Chef called to say the Aztecas were coming to attack. When I arrived, I put Tao Chang and his translator in a very humane hiding spot, then started to defend the meth lab with Chef. The first batch of guys didn't give me any problems. It even seemed like their own cars were out to get them because 2 randomly exploded. I continued defending the meth lab with Chef. One guy was able to get onto the roof with us, but he was promptly taken care of. After we were finished, I drove to Trevor's trailer where Ron was waiting for me. I can't help but feel like I'm forgetting something. Ron explains how some bikers came to Trevor's beautiful house and trashed it. Trevor wanted to get revenge, so Ron and I went to the airfield where the bikers were, and Ron started to sneak in. I thought this part of the mission was gonna be really hard, but it wasn't. The musket was easily able to reach the bikers. The only part I had to use the sniper for was for shooting out the lights over the first biker, even though previously I didn't need to shoot them out. After shooting down the helicopter, I drove to the airfield and picked off the remaining bikers. As I jumped on the wing of a plane Ron was driving, more bikers showed up. Ron turned one of them to soup and gave another a concussion. I used Trevor's special ability so I wouldn't have to shoot any with the AK. We made it to the other plane fairly easily, and by easily, I mean it took like 20 tries. As I'm taking off, a biker jumps on my wing. You can't get out of your plane or else the mission fails, and when you do a roll to get him off, he dies. So unfortunately, we have to add our first non-musket kill to the count. We dropped some very legal packages in the ocean and raced back to Sandy Shores. I met up with Tao Chang and his translator at the bar again. They said they were exploring other opportunities, and after a little bit of persuading, his translator explained that they were working with the O'Neills. Now, I'm not gonna lie guys, the next part of this mission really hurt me. While playing as a Canadian, I had to take out the best kind of Americans. Redneck, inbred, gun-toting, meth-making, true-blooded Americans. But I needed to do it, so I drove to their farm, got a collateral for my first 2 kills, then got 100 bullets put in me. As proud as I was of the O'Neills for killing a syrup-drinking Canadian, I had to try again. I killed all the ones outside with relative ease, then started making my way to their house. I picked a few off that were standing in front of windows, killed a few in the house, including the guy that guards the meth lab, poured a trail of gasoline, and lit it, causing their house to go boom. After committing mass murder, I went back to my house where I showed Wade some love. The type of love an alcoholic father gives to his kid. Wade lets Trevor know he found someone in Los Santos that kind of matches the name of someone Trevor was looking for. Before they head to Los Santos, Trevor wants to kill some more bikers. We drove to their camp and the game prompts you to throw sticky bombs on their trailers to explode them. Of course, I didn't want to risk killing them with explosions, so I killed all the bikers with my musket. Then I used it to shoot the sticky bombs that were on the trailers. After blowing them up, I noticed some unarmed women trying to escape. Since I'm all for equality, I shot them in the back. Then Wade and I visited his cousin in Los Santos, who generously let us stay with him. The next morning, Trevor goes to the address Wade gave him, and he reunites with his old partner Michael. Jimmy mentions Tracy is auditioning for Fame or Shame, and since they both want to get their shot at the spotlight, they head over. Our audition didn't go very well. Michael shoved Laszlo. Trevor cheated in the musket only challenge and bashed a security guard with a chair. Laszlo then started to run out of the building. Since we kinda blew our first shot on Fame or Shame, we decided to chase him down to ask for another opportunity. Me being the dumbass I am, I found a way to get the semi stuck while chasing him. Dude, I'm such a fucking idiot. Laszlo's car eventually breaks down in the LS River. We caught up to him and decided we didn't want another chance on Fame or Shame, but we did end up getting a video of him in his underwear, so a win's a win. Dave called me after what we did to Laszlo and said he needed my help. I met him at the observatory where he showed me a picture that I wasn't sure how to feel about. He bonked me on the head and I woke up just before being cut open. I choked one of the guys out and put a lead ball in a guy's ass. I put something else up there too. This mission was pretty standard, shooting guys coming after me, shooting innocent people. This mission was the first to expose an obvious flaw with the musket, the slow reloading. A combination of that and my low IQ got me killed once. I jumped out a window, lost the cops, and met up with the bull for my wife. Dave texted me and told me I had to come meet him again. Since I'm a good boy, I went straight there to meet Dave's boss and his little butt buddy. We have to go extract Mr. K from the IAA. It started off with Trevor piloting a helicopter while Michael rappelled down to the room Mr. K was in. One of the agents threatens to shove a flashlight up his ass. As much as I wanted to see that, I was here to save Mr. K. After grabbing him, the game switches you to Franklin to snipe the guys. I gave myself the musket and was able to easily kill them. I switched back to Michael and picked off the last few. Yet again, the game switches you back to Franklin to take down a helicopter. I shot the pilot, which caused the helicopter to crash, killing the 2 passengers. Even though this wasn't breaking the rules, I wanted to make it a bit harder and kill the passengers first. So I took a page out of Al-Qaeda's book and crashed an aircraft into a building. By the way, Al-Qaeda fell off so hard, it's all about ISIS and the Taliban now. I shot the 2 passengers and was barely able to get the pilot as rockets were flying by me. I switched over to Trevor, landed on a rooftop, and started killing the passengers before the pilots. I struggled with this part a bunch. One of the helicopters would always hit Michael and Mr. K with a rocket, or hit me with one before I could take them out. After an excruciating long time, aka like 15 minutes, I was able to shoot all the passengers before the pilots. I took Mr. K back to the FIB where I'm sure nothing bad will happen to him. I flew over to Floyd's apartment where he said the most relatable line in this game.
I ain't got a very big penis.
This mission is arguably the most boring in the game. You go to a port, do some work, take some pictures of the boat for Ron, then head home and choose an approach for the heist. While I was waiting for Wade to send me the location of a submarine, I did one of Franklin's missions. Lamar, Stretch, and I went to a recycling plant for a meeting with D, the guy we tried to kidnap earlier. When we got there, Stretch broke the first rule of gun safety: don't shoot someone in the face. As we were fighting our way out of the recycling plant, I kinda used Lamar as a human shield. He ate a shotgun blast to the chest for me. We finished off everyone in the factory and made our way outside, where we were confronted by the helicopter. I shot the 2 passengers, which caused the helicopter to float up into the air. We hopped a wall, I shot a man for his car, Stretch took his sweet time getting in, and we lost the cops. After that mission, I switched over to Michael and got a call from Steve. He told me to meet him at a warehouse that had Mr. K in it. When we get there, Trevor tortures Mr. K for information about a guy Michael and Dave have to assassinate. I started off by pinching his nipples with jumper cables. He didn't seem to be into it as much as me, so I tried out some ball busting. Jesus Christ, man, what am I writing? Eventually, Mr. K gave up enough information and I shot the guy with my musket. After the assassination, Trevor dropped his lover off at the airport and Michael went to the mission that rivals scouting the port for the most boring mission. Michael does some yoga with his wife and her boyfriend Fabian. He gets a little too touchy with Amanda, which leads to a fight. Amanda leaves, but thankfully didn't take the kids, at least not yet. Michael goes to bond with Jimmy. After picking up some drugs, Jimmy drugs his dad and takes the car. Michael trips balls and heads home to find his family has left him. I switched over to Franklin to go on a safari. A hood safari? Get it? Because the mission name is Hood Safari? I'm sorry. Anyway, this mission starts off with Franklin, Lamar, and Trevor going to buy drugs. When they get there, the drugs turn out to be fake and everyone starts blasting. If our founding fathers could see this, they would probably wonder why black people are free, but they would also be amazed at how well a musket can keep up with modern weaponry. They also might throw a few slurs out, I should probably move on from this. We were working our way up the street when the cops showed up. We cut into an alley that led to the Ellis River where some jet skis were. After driving the jet skis for a bit, we decided to split up to lose the cops. I hopped off, shot a few cops, got a car, and lost them. There was only one heist setup I needed to do before Trevor's heist. I had to get a submarine, which I did by shooting the cables holding it and driving it to get loaded on a semi. As I was going to start the heist, a panto clipped me. I handled this like a completely sane person, totally didn't chase him down to shoot him in the head multiple times. The Merryweather heist starts off with Trevor dropping Franklin off on top of a bridge so he could cover Michael as he gets on the boat. After shooting two guys, the game switches me to Michael so I could plant the sticky bombs. I planted them and shot some Merryweather who seemed like they had no interest in shooting me, even though they had plenty of time to. Michael goes into the ship to plant more bombs. As he is doing that, more Merryweather show up and you have to take them out as Franklin. These guys were a lot more eager to shoot me than the ones on the boat, and I could barely see some of them, but I was able to get them on my first try. That cleared a path for Michael to jump off the boat, and once he did, I detonated the bombs. Michael swam till he found what we were looking for. Trevor picked it up, took it back to be loaded on a truck. Then Lester came to yell at us for stealing a nuke or something and made us put it back. After that, Steve and Dave wanted to talk to us. I arrived in style. During the meeting, they told us to steal some bonds from an armored truck. We needed to get a few things before we could do that though. A garbage truck, a tow truck, boiler suits, and masks. We would have been good to go, but Franklin needed to assassinate someone for Lester. I decided to do it in style and 360 him, which I fucked up on my first attempt, but got it on my second. The heist starts with Michael blocking the road with the garbage truck so Franklin can slam into the armored truck. Once that's done, we have to blow open the back doors with a sticky bomb. I threw one on and shot it with my musket. My first attempt was going great. I was about 80% done when I shot at a cop and the car behind him exploded, killing another one. Thinking I had shot the car and caused it to explode, I decided to start over. Looking back, I think it was a rocket Trevor fired that did it. My second attempt went very similar, except this time I think it was my shot that caused it to explode. People say third time's the charm. That wasn't true for my third attempt at passing high school, but it was the case for this. The only hard parts about this was some of the noose took 2 shots to kill, and killing the passengers before the pilot in the helicopter. I destroyed the garbage truck as Franklin in 10 shots, then delivered the bonds to Devin as Michael. While I was there, Devin said he could get me in contact with Solomon Richards. I was driving straight to Solomon's office when I got in an accident due to distracted driving. This is why I'm only on my phone in school zones where there are no mountains to hit. Once I got there, Solomon said he needed my help getting some actors back from a guy named Rocco. You normally have to take out a lot of workers quietly. Since I couldn't do that with my musket, I walked around the building and climbed a ladder that led to the top. When I had to fight Rocco, I learned he wasn't as much of a Chad as Simeon. He couldn't take a single bullet to the toe, finger, or in between the eyes. When I decided to fight Rocco, he immediately lied to me.
I'll go easy, old man.
Holy fuck. I beat the shit out of him, then made the actors scared enough to act in the movie again. I also beat them in the parking lot of the movie studio just for fun. After helping Solomon out, I got some cars for Devin. Not much happened in the first mission other than a little police brutality and some brain damage after the mission. Next, I had to get a Z-type. The only interesting thing that happened was Franklin and Chad Mulligan phasing through vehicles. I put a bullet straight through Chad's forehead and delivered the Z-type to Devin. I switched to Michael where I had to do something for Martin. He wants Trevor and I to kill his cousin because he's gonna testify against him. I went to the observatory as Michael, where Martin had set up a sniper to shoot down his cousin's plane. I tried to give myself the musket, but it didn't work. I decided to fail the mission to see if anything would change, and I got a little bit of hope. The game would allow me to scroll to grenades, and I thought it might allow me to scroll to the musket, but the little bit of hope I had was crushed when I realized I couldn't equip the grenades, and it would only let me select throwable weapons anyway. So I shot out the engine and chased it down as Trevor to the crash site where I shot Martin's cousin along with someone else. I'm gonna add one non-musket kill here because the pilot died. After Trevor grabbed the briefcase, I switched back to Michael to destroy the van. I wanted to test something that happened in my flare gun video. When the van hit the water, it immediately exploded just like before. It must have something to do with the sniper in the back. I decided to destroy it with the musket, which took 9 shots. Trevor called to tell me to meet him at the cement works rather than Martin's house. After driving worse than Paul Walker, I met up with him him. He told me that he had kidnapped Martin's wife, Patricia, and we needed to lie low for a bit. While Michael and Trevor are hiding in the desert, I switched to Franklin to steal another car for Devin. It was really easy to get. All I had to do was go to Solomon's movie studio, kill a few guards, grab the car, and kill a few more guards that came after me. Once I got the car for Devin, I called Michael to see where he was. He explained what was going on with him and Trevor. Just then, Trevor decides to rob a cargo plane carrying a bunch of weapons. I got in a crop duster, eventually caught up to the plane, and flew in the back of it. These guys weren't too hard to take out, but while one was approaching me, I think he gave me stage 4 lung cancer. I was able to stay in cover and take out the guys that were in the cargo area. When I got in the cockpit, the game decided to screw me over. My crosshair was right on the pilot, but Rockstar said fuck you and I missed. I fell back down into the cargo area, climbed back up, and was able to kill the pilot after eating a few bullets. Trevor tried to get the plane back to Sandy Shores, but the military shot him down. He was able to jump out the back and land safely. Shortly after landing, Ron called to tell me some FIB guys wanted to meet Michael and I at the meth lab. When I got there, Dave and Steve explained how we needed some equipment for an up-and-coming heist. Since we didn't have any money to buy the equipment, we needed to pull another heist before the one they are talking about. We went to scope out a bank up in Paleto Bay with Lester. We decided the bank would work and started racing back to the meth lab. I wanted to see what mattered more to Michael, a race or his best friend. He chose the race. After that mission, Franklin called to tell me he was chasing some O'Neills. They swerve to miss an elk and crash. Then they run into the woods and you have to snipe them while in a helicopter as Michael. The first guy was really easy to see, but after 6 minutes of looking around / randomly shooting to try and get the other one, I restarted. Before I shot the first guy on my second attempt, I used the night vision to see where the other guy was. I shot him with the musket, then shot the other one in the water. Trevor kept telling me to shoot another guy that I couldn't see.
Scan right, I think I see someone.
I thought I was gonna have to restart again, but about a minute later, a cutscene played. The game switched me to Franklin. I tracked down the last O'Neill brother and shot him. Once I had finished that mission, I did a setup for the Paleto score, where you kill a bunch of army guys for their supplies. Since I had just killed some army guys, I felt like it was my duty to do the most patriotic thing I could think of, deport some illegal immigrants. Go back to where you came from! You're probably thinking this is really racist, and it would be, but my best friend is Mexican. Can I make a joke about Mexicans in my upcoming video?
No, you racist bastard.
These guys needed to be shot with a stun gun to get in the truck. Trust me, I tried it with my musket. After role-playing as ICE, I started the Paleto score. It starts with us dropping Franklin off to get a boat for our getaway. Then we head into the bank, start robbing it, and cops surround us. I shot one of the cops while I was still in the bank, which he somehow survived because he was talking into a megaphone in the cutscene. We walk out of the bank and start taking out the cops. A helicopter shows up, and when I killed the 2 passengers, the cutscene played of it being shot down. I wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally shoot the pilot, so I did it again and confirmed it automatically plays. I'm not gonna count the pilot as a non-musket kill because he dies in a cutscene. We continued making our way through the cops when the military was called in. Franklin grabbed a bulldozer to pick up the crew. While on his way, the military tried to block him, but they were easily avoidable. We hopped into a chicken factory, took out some more army guys. I got blown up by a grenade, and we escaped on a train. Speaking of trains, the next mission I did was derailed. It starts off with Trevor jumping a bike onto a train. I accidentally fell off, but was able to recover very quickly. Trevor takes control of the train and rams it into another one. Michael's job is to search the wreckage, but before that, he has to blow open the doors. I threw a sticky bomb on the back, shot it, and it didn't open. After trying the same thing a few times, I pressed the detonate button, which exploded an invisible sticky bomb. While Michael is searching the wreckage, you have to take out incoming Merryweather as Trevor. The guys on the boats were super easy to take out. One of them even got really close to me. The helicopters didn't give me any problems, not even with my arbitrary rule of taking passengers out first. The snipers got my health pretty low, and I thought I was gonna die, but I ended up surviving and took out the rest of Merryweather. Michael picks up Trevor, and they escape down the river while being chased. I drove the boat while Trevor took care of the guys chasing us. When we got to the beach, Michael showed Trevor what he took to make things even with Martin. Shortly after, Steve calls and says we are ready to go for the heist. All three of us meet up with Steve and Dave and break into the Humane Labs. We made our way through the research lab, killing unarmed scientists until we found the nerve agent. I collected it, then we fought our way through some security and the army. After putting it in the refrigeration unit, I very delicately delivered it to a semi at Sandy Shores Airfield. Since we got that statue for Martin, he forgave us, but he also wants his wife back, so Trevor had to give Patricia back to her abuser. Trevor was feeling depressed, so he decided to go to Floyd's apartment. When he arrived, Deborah, Floyd's girlfriend, was there and she wasn't too happy. Trevor murders her along with Floyd, then takes Wade to the strip club. After that, Trevor went over to Michael's house to talk. While they were talking, Michael accidentally let it slip that Brad was buried in his grave.
Up in North Yankton, exactly who was buried in your place?
It was Brad who was buried.
Trevor heads to North Yankton to confirm it, while Michael isn't far behind. Trevor digs up the grave, confirms it's Brad, they get mad at each other, then are ambushed by the Chinese gang. Michael is forced to fight them alone since Trevor ran away. I showed these commies what a true patriot can do with a musket, then they captured me while I was in my car. While flying back to Sandy Shores, Trevor gets a call saying Michael has been kidnapped, which I immediately hung up. Always remember, if you just ignore your problems, they go away. At least that's what I hope, because my stack of letters from the IRS is getting pretty high. Once Trevor got back to Los Santos, we started delivering the cars we stole for Devin. On our way there, some cops spot the stolen cars and tried to stop us. Franklin climbs onto the trailer to get the JB 700. I didn't want to use the same strat as the flare gun video, where I stopped in front of the semi and killed the cops like that, so I tried to quickly get out of the car, shoot some cops, catch back up to the semi, then repeat. After raging a few times trying to do that, I'm a fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. Oh, you fucking bitch. What are you doing? I figured it was impossible or very hard to kill all the cops like that, so I shot about 50% of the cops using the get out of car method. Then when we got close to the drop off, I got the other 50% with the stop car in front of semi method. Man, what creative names I came up with. We delivered the cars to Molly. When Franklin asked about payment, she basically said go fuck yourself and drove away. Franklin met up with Trevor to ask where Michael was. He says the Chinese kidnapped Michael in North Yankton, but won't help rescue him. When I got there, I had to kill a bunch of the triads. It took me a few attempts. Eventually, I reached Michael and the game switched me to him. I gave him a musket, which I used to shoot some guys, as well as shoot myself down. We escaped the factory, but some triads followed us. When I got out to kill them, the semi had other plans. Oh, Jesus fucking... I guess I won't get out and shoot the Chinese. My next attempt, I killed the ones that followed us and took Michael home. Once Michael gets cleaned up, he heads over to the movie studio to see Solomon. When he arrives, Rocco, the guy who we beat up on the roof, is beating up Solomon. They run away and Solomon tells me to go kill them. I was following them for a while when they decided to get out of their car. I shot the guy that was with Rocco first, then put one in Rocco's spine. Lester texted me that Steve and Dave wanted to meet with us about something. When I met with them, they said we needed to break into the FIB to erase some evidence. First, we needed a way into the building. We went to the parking lot and waited for a janitor to get off work. Once he was off, we followed him home where he got denied by a woman.
How's that cable connection coming along?
Fine. Sorry, look, I'm busy.
I followed her down the street and shot her. No one denies my boy Harvey like that. After murdering his love interest, I broke into his apartment and politely stole his clothes while vaguely threatening him. We went back to the factory and I chose the roof approach for the heist. Before I could do the heist, Michael decided it was time to reunite his family with the help of Jimmy. First, I beat the yoga instructor for calling Jimmy fat and insulting Amanda. Then I stopped Tracy from blowing Laszlo by giving him a circumcision. While on our way to therapy, Jimmy and Tracy wanted to rob someone.
Let's rob somebody!
I wanted to get my money's worth for therapy, so I took them on their first job and taught them not to leave witnesses. I also taught Jimmy to never bring a woman on the job as they just end up getting in the way. In therapy, the kids talked about the horrors of seeing a cashier get his brains blown out in front of them, which caused Amanda to yell at me for murdering people.
Michael, could you please stop murdering people?
Once we finished therapy, Amanda and the kids moved back in. I'm sure they will be safe here. There's no way Merryweather would break in with guns and take the woman hostage. hostage.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
After getting my family back, I did the FIB heist. It started off with us parachuting onto the roof and cutting a hole in the window. I dropped down, threw a sticky bomb on the server room door, shot it with my musket, and started deleting files. Since explosions aren't quiet, Noose and FIB agents came to stop us. There isn't much to say here. I stayed in the same spot and shot all the reinforcements. Our helicopter did get hit with a missile and crash into the building. Once the files were deleted, we started making our way to the lower floors so we could rappel down. While rappelling down, a buzzard saw us and started shooting. I took out the passengers with the help of Michael's special ability, then shot the pilot. We shot a couple more bums on our way to the getaway car. Once we got in the car, we drove to Franklin's house and celebrated. After Michael was done celebrating, Dave called and said to meet up at the court center. When I got there, Steve stabbed us in the back and tried to arrest us. It all goes wrong when the IAA and Merryweather show up. Steve escapes during the firefight and we have to shoot our way out. Michael gets pinned down by a helicopter. Just when all hope is lost, the game switches you to Trevor to shoot it down. I gave him the musket, shot the pilot, and shot some guys on the ground. I switched back to Michael, killed some guys, took out another helicopter, and met up with Dave. We ran out to the parking lot, got some cars. I shot down yet another helicopter, then met Trevor in an alley, where he berated me for smoking and said he still wanted to do the big score. Michael then went to the studio to see how his movie was doing. When he arrived, Devin was also there, and he said they weren't going to complete the movie. His assistant takes the only copy of the movie and heads to the airport. Michael chases her in the airport. Some cops die. Molly gets turned into chunky soup, but Michael is able to get the movie back and lose the cops. As a thank you, Solomon tells Michael he greenlit a premiere for the movie. I went and got a tux for the premiere, then headed to the theater. When I got there, Devin alluded that something bad was happening to Amanda and Tracy. I sped home, shot a guy in the junk that had Amanda hostage, then accidentally blew my daughter's brains out. My second attempt, I had a lot better shot placement. After saving Tracy, more Merryweather broke in. This next part took me quite a few attempts because they would rush me after I had killed some of them. Eventually, I got them all. Surprisingly, being more aggressive in this part seemed to stop them from rushing me. I also had the help of 2 health packs that were in the house. Once I thought I had cleared all of them out, I went upstairs to get Amanda and Tracy. It turns out there was still another guy and he knocked me down. Luckily, Jimmy was here and he knocked him out. Then he proceeded to dick me down. Since Jimmy had exposed our odd relationship to the girls, they decided to move out for the time being. Speaking of getting dicked down, Franklin's ex came to talk to him. Unfortunately, it was just to talk about how she was concerned for Lamar. He was being held hostage in a sawmill. Michael and Trevor tagged along to help me rescue him. It was fairly easy rescuing Lamar. We just had to take out a bunch of gangsters. I stayed as Trevor most of the time and only had to use his power to save me once. After all the gangsters were taken care of, Franklin drove Lamar home. After helping Lamar, I chose the subtle approach for the big score and got all the equipment we needed. The final heist started off with us stealing an armored truck to sneak into the Union Depository. Once we were there, we got the gold from the vault and loaded it in the trucks. While we were driving away, Merryweather found out we stole the gold and started coming after us. I was able to lose them for now by using the traffic control system. We made it to the strip club and were loading the gold in cars when Merryweather found us again. The only hard thing about this part was trying not to give the homeless people $10,000 while recording it to show how good of a person I am. Once we had taken care of Merryweather, we got in the cars and made our way to the semis in the tunnel, completing the heist. Franklin is faced with a tough decision after the final heist. Devin comes to his house and tells him to kill Michael, but the feds also want him to kill Trevor. Wow, I wonder what option I'm gonna choose. The suspense is killing me. Obviously, I chose option C. Franklin goes to Lester and they come up with a plan to have the boys meet at a foundry to ambush the feds at Merryweather. Noose was the first to arrive. Everything was going good until Lamar needed help outside. I ran outside and was helping him when Trevor decided to be a drama queen and stopped talking. So I switched to Michael and started making my way over to Trevor. This part got me pretty angry because Trevor would sit there like an idiot and not shoot them sometimes, which would cause me to die. Can you fucking shoot them, Trevor? Trevor throwing a little fucking pussy. Shoot him, Trevor. Shoot him, Trevor. Shoot him, Trevor. Trevor, you fucking balding idiot. Dumb bald piece of shit. It took me about 30 minutes to do this part, which is bad, but it's even worse because I was one noose away from being done on my first attempt. Once I finally completed this part, we ran outside and killed the rest of the guys. We had a little meeting about who else we needed dead, and we came up with 4 people: Steve, Stretch, Mr. Chang, and Devin. First, I took out Steve as Trevor, then Mr. Chang as Franklin. The triads were really committed to catching Franklin. They didn't have any regard for their own safety. Eventually, I lost them and switched to Michael, where I shot Stretch. Lastly, I had to get Devin from his mansion that was guarded by Merryweather. After killing the guards, I threw Devin in the trunk, took him to a nice view, and pushed him off the cliff with the help of Michael and Franklin. I'm not counting this as a non-musket kill since he dies in a cutscene. So, can you complete GTA 5 with only a musket? No. We had a total of 2 non-musket kills and 5 shots without the musket. I chose the musket from this comment, so comment some guns you want to see. I'm also thinking of completing GTA 5, but everyone has a certain gun. Let me know if you want to see that. Sorry I was gone for so long. I was trying to be a passport bro and ended up getting kidnapped in Colombia. Thank you guys for all the support on my last video, and I hope you enjoyed this one as well. Leave a like, subscribe, and remember, in the end, life is pointless. Just kidding. Kinda. Bye. Love you.